You're ready.
All right, good morning. I'm gonna start my speech off by asking you guys a question. Who in here is a lover of dogs? Most people. Okay. Did you actually know that the first interactions between humans and canines happened nearly 30,000 years ago? And when we hear the word canine, we usually think of larger animals like Great Danes, German Shepherds, animals like that. However, there's one species of canine that tends to slip most people's mind, and it's actually the largest species of canine. It's actually about 6 feet in length, 175 pounds, and it's referred to as the Canis lupus, otherwise known as the gray wolf. These animals are large in size and also large in numbers, and they're roaming freely throughout the U.S. in the Pacific Northwest and Midwest mainly. According to Jenna Arusi of Nature World News, the number of wolves in the northern part of the U.S. has swiftly grown since the 1990s, which has caused their removal from the federal protection list. The reproduction rate has also grown immensely. For example, in Wisconsin, the population has tripled in just a decade, with the largest pack containing about 37 wolves, which is why I believe we should keep the population of wolves under control for the benefit of our society. Here are some reasons why. Deer and elk are in hiding, which in turn affects our society. 2, they're a risk to our livestock, and 3, they're also a risk to human beings. Which brings me back to my first point, that ungulates such as deer and elk are hard to come across now. They're afraid of being mauled and eaten by these wolves. And you might ask, well, how does that affect society? Isn't that just a regular part of life in the food chain? But a lack of deer and elk could cause an overabundance of grasses, shrubs, and different trees, which in turn can cause an overabundance in the rodent and insect population, which can set off a cascade of other wildlife impacts. Hunting season is also significantly slower. Deer and elk disperse in small groups, and they're going to higher elevations and rockier elevations where hunters and wolves can't get to them. And this is especially hard for families that rely on this meat that comes in during hunting season that can last anywhere from about half a year to a year, and they're having to find alternate ways to produce or to provide for themselves. According to Washington Fish and Game Ranger Bill Madison, they had 900 head of elk in the late 2000s. Now there's 147 due to predation. It only takes a few deer or elk to get killed for the rest in the herd to adapt and evolve and see what's going on. As National Elk Refuge biologist Eric Cole stated, if a guy goes down to the grocery store and the first time he goes down there, he gets the shit beaten out of him. The second time, he finds a better place to go shop for his groceries. I personally moved from Idaho just a couple of years ago. I lived out there for a couple of years and know many families that are enraged from the slow hunting and mainly due to wolves, and they can't provide the meat that they usually have that can last them for up to a year, and they have to find alternate ways such as going to the market, and which can be expensive, or they have to start a small ranch of their own, which leads me into my second point, that the effects of wolf depredation has on farmers and ranchers' livestock. Unlike large game like deer and elk that can detect these wolves and have a chance of running away, livestock are put in a more vulnerable position. They're in confined areas, which makes it easier for wolves to attack them and harder for them to run away. And since wolves usually hunt in packs of 3 to 5, the ratio of wolves to livestock is never equal, causing surplus killing. In 2013, in a ranch near Idaho Falls, a pack of wolves ran 176 sheep to their death, only to partially consume one of them, left 175 sheep dead. And when an animal dies of natural causes such as exhaustion or say a heart attack, the body's going to be there obviously. So according to James Whitaker, they get paid for confirmed kills from the state. But if a body was to disappear, say a wolf eats a sheep or something and it disappears, they don't get paid for that. They don't get any money back, so they lose their profit. Also, injured wolf, any injuries they may have, they don't get compensated for that as well. Wolves don't even necessarily have to attack livestock to have an effect on farmers' income either. Just by the wolves being in the area, the cows or the pigs and whatnot get nervous, which in turn disrupts the grazing and causes weight and pregnancy rates to go down. This causes them to continuously relocate, and farmers can't get them to return to their original grazing locations, which disrupts the season's grazing management. According to Ralph McCrae, another Idaho farmer, he exclaimed, "An incident of a wolf coming too close to his home." A couple hours later, he said, "I went outside to check on the cows to find a wolf standing in a herd of cows right next to where my grandkids were sledding." Well, aren't wolves supposed to be afraid of humans? This guides me to my third and final point, that wolves are a danger to humans. A study done in 2002 titled "A Case History of Wolf-Human Encounters in Alaska, Canada" went underway when a wolf attacked a 6-year-old boy in Icy Bay, Alaska. The study recorded 80 wolf-human encounters and 39 acts of aggression. There were also 16 cases where the wolf bit people, or the wolf had bitten someone, and 6 bites were considered extremely dangerous. Since 2004, there have been 2 fatalities of wolf attacks. There have also been 102 non-fatal attacks. The most recent fatality was in 2010 when the body of Candace Vernon was found on a gravel yard in Chignik Lake, Alaska. In 2016, a Minnesota teen, Noah Graham, had been bitten in the back of the head while camping and received 17 stitches. He said, "I had to reach behind me and jerk my head out of its mouth." The most recent of the human encounter was this July in Okanagua County, Washington. A pack of wolves chased a research student in a campsite and caused her to panic and run up 30 feet up a tree to escape from being mauled. As you can see, a large population of wolves does more harm to our society than good, which is why I believe we need to keep the population under control. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry about that. No, you're good.
In the 30-second test.
I'll just have to get
Every student.
Yeah, feeling good. Might be short.
I think you're
All right, Jaden, lots of good stuff in the speech. A couple of things to maybe work on a bit more. The proposition, you do identify it. I think we need a little bit more explanation of what the controversy is on this particular subject. The notion that the wolves were once protected is probably part of the thing that makes the need to control this predator a controversy, and so that might be something that would work better at the beginning of the presentation. I do think you have a good preview of the supporting material, although the secondary points when they are presented in the preview are not really phrased as claims. They, especially the second one, it sounds like it is a piece of expository information. I do think that you make claims on those individual points when you get to the body of the speech, but they ought to be stated as claims early on. It's easy to follow and organized pretty clearly. The third point you do get to a little bit in overtime. It's kind of like you're just getting to it as you're running out of time. It wasn't a huge amount of time that you went over, but it was enough that it could be problematic if we were doing the debates. We're going to cut people off when the debates are going on. So just kind of be aware that that's going to be an issue in the future that you have to pay attention to. You had lots of good examples. There's a little bit of statistical information, some expert testimony, so you've got information in most of the categories. I did think that you started off pretty well citing sources in some of the incidents that you cite at the end, especially at with the examples of people who were attacked or the data about the research assistant running away. I assume that's probably from that one text that you were citing that you started with on the third point, but I'm not positive about that, and so I think you need to be a little bit clearer about that. I thought it was presented in a very effective way, and like I said, it ran a little over time, but not a lot. All right, thank you.